Senator.
Deputy President, I don't intend to detain the Senate long on this question, but I do rise to move the amendment circulated in my name on sheet 1237. Labor doesn't support this bill, and I won't go into a great deal of detail about why not. I would refer people to the evidence that was put before the Senate committee on this question. I rely, in brief, on the comment that was provided by Super Consumers Australia, people you might expect to rely upon in providing good advice about what is in fact in the interest of consumers. And they said this: "We don't believe that the Treasury Laws Amendment Self-Managed Superannuation Funds Bill 2020 will make a meaningful contribution to delivering better member outcomes in an environment where barriers to accessing unconflicted financial advice persist." And that's at the heart of our concerns about this bill, because the risk is that the people who will benefit most from these arrangements are financial advisors giving shonky advice, the kind of advice we've seen again and again and again, the kind of advice exposed in the Hayne Royal Commission. And there are inadequate protections for consumers, and this bill exposes people further to these risks. So it's on that basis that I move this amendment, which simply does this. It seeks to have a review of the operations of this bill. And frankly, if the government is as confident as it says it is about how terrific this bill is going to be, it won't object to performing a review. The review would really require a consideration of the conduct of financial advisors and trustees and the performance and governance of self-managed superannuation funds. I don't know why you wouldn't agree to that. And I encourage government senators to actually consider voting for a pretty sensible amendment that would cause a review of a new government policy within 12 months.
Senator McKim.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. I just rise very briefly to associate the Australian Greens with Senator McAllister's remarks and to indicate for the record that we will be supporting this amendment.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator McKim and also Senator McAllister, for those contributions. Obviously, this bill increases the maximum number of allowable members in a self-managed super fund and small APRA fund from 4 to 6. It's not a complicated bill at all. The increase in the maximum number of allowable members intends to provide additional consumer choice and flexibility to manage retirement savings, and that's especially so for large families. The opposition amendment asks a review to be conducted of the operation of this amendment, and the review also must consider the conduct of financial advisors and trustees and SMSF investment performance and governance. Now, the government's position is to oppose this amendment. Firstly, the opposition's amendment to review whether self-managed super fund membership should be expanded after 12 months of passage of this legislation will create considerable uncertainty for those that want to take up the option of a 5 or 6 member self-managed super fund in the first 12 months of the amendment operating. Secondly, and I think it's rather unfortunate and indeed disingenuous of the opposition to disparage the good work that financial advisors do and the contribution that they make to the financial well-being of thousands and thousands of Australians. And in fact, the Morrison government has implemented a number of reforms that strengthen the financial advice sector and provide consumers with much better access to affordable and high-quality financial advice. So far, the government has strengthened and simplified the ongoing fee arrangements framework to minimise the risk of a consumer being charged a fee for no service. We've amended the disclosure requirements to ensure that financial advisors disclose whether they are independent, which was recommendation 2.2 of the Hayne Royal Commission. The government has also committed to introduce legislation by the 30th of June this year, which would establish a single disciplinary body for financial advisors. Now, this is in response to Commissioner Hayne's finding that while sanctions are available to ASIC to take against financial advisors, the lack of less serious sanctions means that ASIC generally only focuses on the most serious of incidents. And while the government has announced that FACEA will soon be wound up, its functions will certainly remain. Treasury will be responsible for standard setting and the code of ethics, and ASIC will be responsible for administering the exam. The great work that FACEA has done to lift the education, training, ethical standards of financial advisors will continue. The government has in fact agreed to implement the Hayne Royal Commission's recommendation to review measures that have been implemented by the government, by regulators and by financial services entities to improve the quality of financial advice. And I think we can safely say that we all know which side of politics supports members' rights to manage their own money, and it's certainly not the Labor Party. At the last election, can I remind the chamber that the Labor Party in fact proposed $57 billion worth of retiree tax, which was very anti-self-managed super.